Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Football Frenzy. As always, I'm Paul Valley, and this is Adam Rothgeb.
What's going on, guys?
And today I'm going to start with my segment of shade, because I feel like this is a really important issue, and I have the same shade to throw at three different groups. And and you know that this is a big deal if after this past week with the Colin Kaepernick workout and the Myles Garrett incident on the field with the helmet, if this is what I'm talking about. This is a big deal, and I've been, talking about it for a long time, just not on this show. And it's this running back for the Dolphins who just got released, Mark Walton. He got released because he got a woman pregnant, and 2 days after he found out about it, slammed her up against the wall, repeatedly punched her in the face and in the head. And this is one of those things that these professional athletes think they're above the law, and they're not, especially when it comes to stuff like this. You're a professional athlete. So the segment of shade here first goes to the players. You're a professional athlete. Your hands, your muscles are deadly weapons, especially to women who are significantly smaller than you. You are a professional football player who's getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, up to tens of millions of dollars, to go out there and play a game. That can all be taken away from you. So far, you're looking at guys like Greg Hardy, Tyreek Hill, Ray Rice, Terrell Suggs to a certain extent, and now Mark Walton, who probably is never going to play another down of football in the NFL again because of what he did, because he doesn't have the track record. And I'm going to get to that in a second. You cannot hit women, regardless of if you're in the NFL or not. If you have a pair of testicles between your legs, you cannot lay a hand on a woman. That's just the way it is, and that's never going to change. You're a piece of dirt scumbag if that's what you do. Now, the other part of the shade is going to the NFL for allowing these players to continue to play in the NFL. You look at Tyreek Hill, who also punched and choked his pregnant girlfriend in college, got kicked off the Oklahoma State team, was lucky enough to be drafted by the Chiefs in the NFL. And then this past year, it comes out that his 3-year-old had a broken arm and blamed his father for the broken arm. Now, those charges got dropped because there wasn't enough evidence. They know that the child was abused, but they couldn't tell if it was the father or the mother. My theory is, where there's smoke, there's fire. Now, maybe it's a chance that you're getting blamed for something because of your status in the NFL. If it happens once, if this is a repeat thing, where there's smoke, there's fire. And the third part of the shade is going to the fans of these players. I'm a Ravens fan. Adam's a Ravens fan.
Yes.
Ray Rice punched his fiancée, now wife, in the face twice in an elevator. Now, when it all came out, I defended him because I hadn't seen the video. You see the video, he should never play another down in football. And guess what? He has not played in the NFL ever since then. It's one of those things where you just can't do it. And I have these fans on Twitter who are coming at me defending Tyreek Hill as if it's okay that because he wasn't in the NFL when he did it, that he hit and choked his pregnant girlfriend. As if it's okay that he abused his child because he wasn't charged or convicted of it. So, it in their opinion, it didn't happen. I actually have fans saying this stuff to me. I had a guy whose name is also Paul on Twitter telling me that I give Pauls a bad name.
Bad Paul.
Because of the fact that I came after Tyreek Hill for abusing his child, even though he wasn't convicted for it. This is madness. It's absolute madness. Bottom line, you hit a woman, you abuse a child, you have no right to play in the NFL. Now, the NFL, they need to do something about it. Mark Walton, he'll never play again. But Tyreek Hill, because he's a first-round talent who puts up over 1,000 yards and has world-class speed, he gets the second, third, fourth, how many opportunities to play in the NFL? A guy like Pac-Man Jones, how many opportunities did he get to play in the NFL because of his talent, because he was a first-round talent?
Arrested multiple times.
Vontaze Burfict, because he was a first-round talent. Now, look, he's suspended the entire year because he's a repeat offender of on-the-field misconduct, but he had so many opportunities to play in the NFL. The league needs to do something about it, because you cannot beat women, beat children, headhunt continuously, and still have a job in the NFL. It's a bad look, and I'm not giving Pauls a bad name. These fans, And the NFL and these players are giving the NFL and themselves bad names because they can't stop putting their hands on women. If you hit a woman, I don't care if you're Tyreek Hill, I don't care if you're Adam, I don't care if you're some guy that lives down the street. You're a coward, and I will say it to your face. So, for those of you saying I wouldn't say it to Tyreek Hill, if he was standing right in front of me, I'd tell him he's a coward. He'd probably kick my ass, but it doesn't matter. He's a coward, and he should not be in the NFL. Moving on. I'm hot now. I'm sweaty. I got all this anger coming out.
Sound like me there, Paul.
Oh, my God. I know it's a convoluted thing. It just that's something that's a point of contention that has really irritated and upset me for a number of years now. These guys just shouldn't be in the NFL. Moving on. Do you want to hit your segment of shade now?
I might as well just go ahead and throw mine out there now. And we had mentioned something about bringing up the CK or Colin Kaepernick from this past weekend, but I really don't want to give credence to the man because I really feel like he doesn't even want to play the NFL anymore. Just a money grab for him at this point. But my shade goes to the incident that happened Thursday Night Football last week. Myles Garrett. A lot of people on Twitter, and I'm sure there might be a few out there who watch this, are blaming Mason Rudolph for the incident progressing. Former players, Torrey Smith, Arian Foster, I've seen supporting Myles Garrett because Mason Rudolph came at Myles Garrett. I'm sorry, Mason Rudolph is 6'2", maybe 230 pounds, somewhere around there. Had no helmet on. Myles Garrett, who just unnecessarily, with 6 seconds left in the game, rode the man down to the ground after trying to sack him, which was unnecessary. I mean, it's the end of the game. You're up. You're up by 2 scores. Mm-hmm. What's the point? I mean, your only point in this is just to drive home the fact of we just beat the hell out of you, and I'm going to continue to beat the hell out of you till the whistle blows. I understand it, but it was an unnecessary move to spin him around, hit him into the ground, and then cower over top of him like, haha, you're my bitch type of deal. And I don't agree with that. Not at the end of the game like this. And you want to say this man came at Myles Garrett. Well, Myles Garrett still had helmet, still all his pads on, plus Mason Rudolph's helmet in his hand while he comes at him. Now, stop me if I'm wrong, but how many incidents do we see in the NFL on a yearly basis where players go after other players? I don't recall ever seeing somebody rip a helmet off somebody else and beat them with it.
Right. It's never happened.
It's never happened to my knowledge, and I've scoured my memory banks and talked to people older than me about this, but I don't recall ever this being a problem in the NFL. If he had flipped that around the other way and cracked Mason Rudolph in the head with the crown of that helmet, we might be talking about somebody who's holding on for dear life, in a coma, major aneurysm in his brain, multiple things that could have happened. He could be dead with the amount of force that a man of Myles Garrett's size at, 6'3", 6'4", 295 pounds.
You go back and look at how hard he swung that helmet. It was full force.
That dude is... earlier this year, he joked about how he stopped, got out of his car to give a fan an autograph, and the fan punched him in the face, and he laughed at him. That tells you the kind of man we're dealing with here. I don't care what the guy did to you. If you have a problem, you want to punch him in the face because he might have kicked you in the groin or said something about your mother or whatever case, spit on you. You know what? Okay. By all means, go ahead. You settle that out wherever you need to. But to swing a helmet, a deadly weapon, he's lucky he didn't get criminal charges pressed against him. And this is just stuff like this that just doesn't belong in the NFL. You don't need this. It harkens back to being thuggish. And I'm not saying that because he's black, and I'm not saying that because of any disdain I have towards the Cleveland Browns. If a white player had done, Kyle Turley, remember years ago, tore the helmet off of a player, he took it and just chucked it across the field. That was still a thuggish move on his respect. He just didn't hit a player in the freaking head with it. Mm-hmm. So what happened to professionalism in sports? This harkens back to your issue, and this is a small microcosm of it. There's no professionalism with a lot of these players anymore, and it's just disturbing to see it. I was brought up with the idea of professionalism. Be a professional if you're going to play a sport, especially if you're an athlete getting paid millions of dollars to play a children's game. So this stuff needs to get cleaned up. And the NFL was completely right by suspending them the rest of this season. And probably at least 4 games in the next season, which I think he had his hearing today to see what the NFL's decision is going to be as far as his appeal is concerned. But, you know, with all this going on, let's talk some football, shall we?
Absolutely. And one last thing to that point, to the point on Garrett, is if Adam and I got into a fight out in the street in front of his house right now, and I hit him in the head with a helmet, I'm getting criminal charges.
Arrested.
I'm getting arrested. So I was literally just saying in my segment that these guys aren't above the law, but they kind of are to a certain extent, because Myles Garrett doesn't have a criminal charge coming against him because he's in the NFL and Rudolph decided not to press charges. So anyway, like you said, let's move on. Ravens absolutely annihilated, embarrassed, demolished the Houston Texans. I did not see this coming. 41-7. I thought it was going to be 34-27. I thought it was going to be a one-score game, a shootout. And they made the Texans look like the Bengals or the Dolphins on Sunday.
It was something to see. You know, you came out. It seemed like both teams were a little amped up, a little hyped up. Mm-hmm. Lamar came out real cold, only 1 of 5 to open up, 1 of 6 to open the game. Sorry, and he just looked a little erratic, a little more jacked up than he has any other game this season, surprisingly, considering we played a Sunday night game against the Patriots at home. But to reel all that energy in and refocus it and refocus the entire team and just put on an absolute clinic offensively and do whatever you wanted to do against the Texans, which we kind of assumed or figured it was going to happen. But then the defense.
Oh my gosh.
The defense had just absolutely harassed Deshaun Watson all day long. 7 sacks. 7 sacks. They're the highest output in a couple of years in a single game. I mean, our defense has started to turn around. The Ravens have really gathered up all of what they needed to gather up after that Week 4 loss, and just put all their energy into focusing on what do we got to do to get better on defense. What are our steps moving forward? And Eric DaCosta, all these street free agents, a big trade for Marcus Peters, get a little healthier with Jimmy Smith coming back, and it's just been an amazing turnaround to watch this defense and just obliterate Deshaun Watson and any hopes he had of coming back and doing anything in this game.
And you can make a point that this was... Look, the Ravens have played games where they've had multiple defensive touchdowns. They have 2 of those games this year, right? They shut down Tom Brady in the Patriots offense. They shut down dangerous Wilson, Russell Wilson, the MVP frontrunner to a lot of people. They shut him down. But this is arguably their most complete game defensively. You're talking they forced 2 turnovers. Mm-hmm. They had 7 sacks. They had 10 quarterback hits. They had 9 tackles for losses. I think they had 5 different players recorded the sack. You had Judon and Tyus Bowser. Tyus Bowser playing a different brand of football right now than he has been at any point in his career. He had 2 sacks.
He's made himself known this year. I mean, since the beginning part of the year, he's steadily grown and got more accustomed to more playing time. Jalen Ferguson, he started, got that more playing time. He's getting a little more confidence. And sometimes what all these little young players need is maybe just a little bit of confidence. Have something go their way. Have a ball bounce their way. It's something as small as that. And the defense is just rising above everything. I mean, it's amazing to see, considering what weeks 1 through 4 this year, our defense was giving up almost 400 yards a game. Mm-hmm. Almost 400 yards a game, which was ranked 27th in the league. Since week 5, this defense is a 6th ranked defense, giving up 291 yards a game. That's over 100 yards per game difference. That is outstanding. I mean, considering the offenses we've played in that stretch, it's not like we're playing nothing but bums the entire time. Mm-hmm. You're talking about the Houston Texans offense. You're talking about the Russell Wilson-led Seattle Seahawks offense. We're not playing garbage teams here. So
and the Patriots.
The Patriots struggling a little bit on offense, but it's still Tom Brady.
Right.
And something in an aspect of where teams might have folded or not performed to their ability because it's Tom Brady. It's just a remarkable leap that they've steadily climbed out of the gutter with with their defense all season and just continue to improve every single game.
Well, and then you look at those 3 games that they played: the Patriots, the Seahawks, and the Texans. First of all, we looked at that schedule. Beginning of the year, we probably look at that schedule and we think those are 3 losses, right? Yeah. And you're looking at the Ravens. Maybe they're 9-7, maybe they're 10-6, and those are 3 of the losses. They won all 3 of those games. Not only did they win those games, they outscored those 3 teams by 65 points. We're talking almost a 22-point average margin of victory against 3 of what are considered to be the best teams in football, with 2 MVP candidates and arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. I don't think he is, but that's a story for another day. In Tom Brady, in this 6-game winning streak, this team has outscored the opponents by 110 points. That's 18.3 points per game that they're outscoring the opposition. And yeah, I know that they played the Bengals in there, but that's notwithstanding, they're blowing the doors off of teams, and you can just see the confidence building in this team each and every game. Now it's no longer, when Lamar goes off, now it's like, oh my God, Lamar went off. You're more surprised if he doesn't go off at this point. And honestly, it speaks to how well the team is playing as a whole, that's really only the second time we've mentioned Lamar Jackson's name. It's talking about this.
That's the thing. It's become an overall team effort. I mean, Lamar is doing his thing, and we're not going to discredit Lamar. Unfortunately, he didn't get his 3rd AFC Offensive Player of the Week award in a row, which he probably deserved over Josh Allen. But I guess the NFL says we can't give him to it every week.
Otherwise, he'd have like 6 or 7.
But I mean, just you look at this, and everybody likes to say, "Well, they played the Bengals," or he did this against the Dolphins. Well, last time I checked, Seattle Seahawks had to have a last 5-minute drive against the Bengals to beat them at home to open the season. Last I checked, the Miami Dolphins went into Indianapolis and beat them in Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm. When it was 2 of the last 3.
I don't want to hear any of this garbage about, well, you played this team or that team. We're doing to those teams exactly what we're supposed to do to those teams, and then the teams that are 500 or better, Lamar Jackson is undefeated against them. Mm-hmm. Undefeated this year. 4-0. You cannot argue.
He lost to the Chiefs.
The Chiefs, I'm sorry, 4-1. My bad. You can't argue with what he's doing against the top flight teams in the NFL. That was one of the biggest things we've always had as Ravens fans is, we play really hard and really well against the top flight teams, but we'd always come up just that little bit short, or we didn't get the ball to bounce our way sometimes. But we're not having to have a ball bounce our way. We're just kicking in the door and saying, come at us. What do you got? It's not good enough. And no team is good enough right now. We are the Ravens have supplanted themselves or planted themselves at the top of the mountain right now, as far as I'm concerned. As far as right now where we stand, going into Week 12, the Ravens have dictated that they are the best team in the NFL as we speak. Things can change. We all understand that.
A loss to the Rams knocks them down a peg or 2.
We all understand everything can change. There's 6 more games to play in this season, but the way they're moving, the way they're focused, the way they're driving towards a singular goal, which everybody on this team seems to have that same singular goal, it's something very fun to watch as a Ravens fan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, like we just said, if they lose to the Rams, they get knocked down a peg or 2, then they have to come home and play the 49ers, and they've lost their momentum. So let's talk about this game against the Rams, okay? So the Rams just beat the Bears on Sunday. I believe it was Sunday Night Football. Sunday Night Football, 17-7. I watched every second of that game, and just like the week before with the Rams and Steelers, I wish I hadn't. That game that game was so bad. It was so bad. I felt like every team was punting on every 4th play. It was just a horrible football game. Jared Goff, 11 of 18 for 173 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. Todd Gurley had his most rushing yards of the season, still less than 4 yards a carry, 25 carries, 97 yards. Their offense they don't have an identity right now. Their offensive line is porous. Todd Gurley has a degenerative knee issue that's causing him, they've kept his pitch count, so to speak,
really
low to kind of keep him fresh for the second half of the season. You saw that as evidenced by he had a number of catches and he had 25 carries the other night. They're going to need him down the stretch if they want to try and make it back to the playoffs. Cooper Kupp, he has nearly 300 receiving yards more than the next best player on this team. This is a team that has Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods.
Yes.
And he's been held to 3 catches for 53 yards the last 2 weeks, and that includes being shut out 2 weeks ago. So this offense is really struggling. The defense, okay, between Clay Matthews, Dante Fowler, and Aaron Donald, there's 21.5 sacks.
Yes.
That equals out to about 10 plus sacks for each player at the end of the season. This team has a great pass rush.
Yes, they do.
And if any team has a chance to at least slow down Lamar Jackson, it's the Rams. But the problem is, can their offense outplay the Ravens' defense?
First off, what's a punt?
Right.
As a Ravens fan, I'm starting to forget what a punt looks like.
Yeah, Sam Brooks is sitting on the couch
so he's collecting money. He doesn't have to do anything. With this game, it's funny. Their defense, they're kind of reverting over towards and playing a different brand of football now. The high-flying football all over the field out of Jared Goff's hand isn't working because their offensive line is garbage. And I mean absolute straight up and down garbage. They've gotten old fast on the tackle position, and their guards and their center play is atrocious. That's limiting their ability to provide these deep balls that sometimes they were getting all last year. So let's revert to our defense, where you have studs all over the field. I mean, yeah, Aaron Donald, one of the best all around players in all of football. Clay Matthews seems a little rejuvenated heading back home. Dante Fowler has always been a dangerous edge rusher. They've got Jalen Ramsey on the back end. He started out slow out there, but he could always pick one off and take one to the house. You never know.
Especially against a less than stellar Ravens receiving core.
It's very true, but it's what we know as Ravens fans is we don't necessarily need to use the receivers.
Right.
Is Jalen Ramsey going to cover Mark Andrews the whole game? Okay, right. We'll throw it to Nick Boyle and Hayden Hurst. We don't care. That's one thing, the Ravens offense, we don't care who really gets the ball. And I don't think anybody else really cares. It's just, we all have it's the singular goal mindset. We're going to do whatever we need to do to win, and that's what the Ravens are doing. The Rams have their rush defense is ranked fifth in the league.
NFL.
Fifth in the league. All right. Well, we just faced the Houston Texans, who were ranked third in the NFL.
Now they're 13th.
Now they're dropped 10 whole spots. They dropped 10 spots to 13th in the NFL from one game playing the Ravens.
Tripled what they normally give up.
One game.
Tripled.
The Ravens, by far and away, are the best running team we've seen in the NFL in a long time. And I mean a long time. I mean, they're almost 60 yards clear of the second-place rushing team in the NFL, which is the 49ers. And this is a little tidbit I learned today. The Ravens have over 2,000 rushing yards this season. This early in the season, first time since 1978. In a league that is all about passing the ball and finding receivers and getting the ball down the field and this and dunking this over the... Ravens are doing it in their own way. And I don't think they care who they step in front of right now. Am I worried about what Aaron Donald could do to our running game by blowing up the middle of our line? Yes, I'm very concerned about that. Is it going to worry me to the point where I think they're going to shut down our run? No. No, I'm not. Because you say you want to blow up the middle of our line? Okay. That's fine. We'll just run it outside against you the whole time.
That's what they need Justice Hill for.
What else? They've got an answer for everything, I feel like. I really feel like the Ravens have an answer for everything. And it's going to be, the cross-country flight, it's going to be a little different. Going east to west isn't as bad as west to east. So it's looking like the Rams are going to try to muck it up defensively, do the best they can to stop what we're best at, which is fine. And the Ravens are going to come in with a strict game plan about probably attacking the edges and the middle of the field. The linebackers are a little weaker in coverage. Jalen Ramsey is a top-flight corner, but they don't really have anybody else on the back end. Like the Eric Weddle's back there is very smart. Hell of a smart player. He can put guys in the right position, but the guys still have to be quick enough or fast enough to make the play. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do defensively and what kind of help Eric Weddle's intelligence on the back end can provide to maybe try to slow down Lamar Jackson. But I don't know if I see it happening.
Well, it goes back to your point saying, John Harbaugh said it during training camp that this Ravens offense is going to be something like we've never seen before. And in a league where the rules are in place to protect the quarterback at all costs, and you have guys throwing for 5,000. It used to be, it happened one time from like 1982 to like 2007.
1984, Dan Marino,
1984.
5,084 passing yards, I believe, in one season.
And now you look at it, every year somebody throws for 5,000 yards. Drew Brees has done like 5 times. Every year somebody's throwing for 40 touchdowns. You now have 4 guys who have thrown 50 touchdowns or more. Yep. It's a passing league, and the Ravens are saying, screw that. And they're running for 200 to 250 yards a game. 263 yards rushing against the NFL's 3rd-ranked rush defense. That's special. And something is going on in Baltimore that is special. Now, there are other teams that are trying to stand in Baltimore's way from letting the special season reach the culmination.
They're trying.
And that's where we're going to jump into the playoff push here. And you're looking at, we talked about it, Steelers-Browns this past Thursday night. Browns beat them 21-7. Another not great game. The Browns did not turn the ball over for the 3rd straight game. They are playing better. They're protecting the football. Steelers have a really good defense, right? They have a really good defense. The Steelers' offense, they are so bad. They are so bad. And James Conner had he got me 2 fantasy points before he re-injured. And yes, I'm a Ravens fan that has James Conner on his fantasy team. Whatever.
I have Juju Smith-Schuster, and he didn't do anything for me.
James Conner re-injured that shoulder. He might be done for the year.
Probably
Juju Smith-Schuster on the same play got concussed and hurt his knee. He's out this Sunday. Deontay Johnson, he got hurt. He got concussed, was bleeding from his ear.
Yep.
By the way, the Browns were headhunting.
They
were absolutely headhunting that game. And Mike Tomlin was giving Freddie Kitchens an earful after the Myles Garrett incident because they were clearly going for the jugular with these guys. Bleeding from the ear based on a hit from the safety who got kicked out of the game after that.
Yep.
And now, this whole game, all that stuff, is overshadowed by Myles Garrett trying to murder somebody on the field with his helmet.
Pretty much.
Right? The whole game, a lot of people don't even remember what the hell happened in that game because
of that incident.
Yep. And now the Browns have lost arguably their best player in Myles Garrett on defense. He's done for the year and probably a good portion of next year. Because of that same incident, Pouncey, the all-pro center for the Steelers, he was just protecting his quarterback, but tried to kick a dude in the head a couple of times. He was pancaked to the ground. He's out for 3 games.
Yep.
Plus what they're already missing on offense. These are 2 depleted teams. Now they have easy schedules.
Yes, they do.
Right? So you're looking at the Steelers, who turned the ball over 4 times in that game. Steelers are going out to play the Bengals with no Pouncey, no Connor, no Juju Smith-Schuster, no Deontay Johnson. But they should still win this game.
Yeah.
Right? The 0-10 Bengals, they should still win that game. Strictly, the offense might not even have to take the field.
Strictly on the strength of their defense.
Yeah.
It's there's no reason why they shouldn't win this game.
Meanwhile, the Browns are going to play the Dolphins. And the Dolphins are playing better, but they're not going to be.
They just don't have the talent.
Yeah, Ryan Fitzpatrick can throw the ball all over the field, and he'll have a little bit more time to do so without Myles Garrett breathing down his throat. But the Dolphins aren't going to win this football game.
They shouldn't. And I would be less surprised if the Dolphins won than I would be if the Bengals beat the Steelers, because those are 2 division rivals, and there's been bad blood between those 2 teams in the past. So I'd be more shocked if the Dolphins did something, but I don't see it happening. All
right. And the Steelers, they were, a sleeper pick over the last couple of weeks to make it to the playoffs, but then this happened with the Browns, all the injuries. They're 5-5. I can see them being a 9-7 team, but 9-7 team has you out on the outside looking in the playoffs.
Yes.
The Browns, they improved to 4-6 with that win over the Steelers. They have a pretty easy schedule. I can also see them being a 9-7 team, maybe even a 10-6 team if they run the table, but they'd have to beat the Ravens.
Yes.
But Steelers 3 games back of the Ravens. Browns 4 games back of the Ravens. Ravens are currently the 2 seed in the AFC, down by a half game to the Patriots because of the head-to-head tiebreaker.
Yep.
Neither one of these teams are catching the Ravens.
No.
It's just not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen.
It's just not going to happen. So then you're moving on. You look at Colts Texans. They play on Thursday Night Football. Both teams 6-4.
It's for the division.
And this is for the division right here. This is for sole possession of first place in the division. If this game happened a week or 2 weeks ago with no Jacoby Brissett, I'd say it's a cakewalk for the Texans.
Yep.
But Brissett's back. Still, I think the Texans win this game because they got embarrassed.
Yes, they did.
On Sunday. They got embarrassed. Watson is going to want to come out, and he's going to want to prove that was a fluke of a game last week, and he's going to want to show out against the division rival on national television.
It should be a hell of a game. The Colts, Texans, a interdivision game. So, both teams very familiar with each other, know each other's strengths, weaknesses, ins and outs. It's one of those things. With Jacoby Brissett back there, the Colts, they just seem more confident. They seem more confident when he's back there, and it seems like the defense plays a little better. The running game is just that much better with Marlon Mack, who's a very good running back in this league. It may come down to a last-second field goal like it did the first time they met this year. So it's interesting. It's one of those games I would like to watch from start to finish because it's just that appealing to me to be able to watch these two teams. I lean Texans, but to be honest, I'm maybe pulling for the Colts.
I'm leaning Texans, and I'm pulling for the Texans because if it comes down to a tiebreaker with the Ravens beat them head-to-head.
This is true.
And so if both teams would have finished at 12-4, the Ravens have that tiebreaker, and they have a higher seed because of it, if they both win their respective divisions. Now you got Bills. They're playing the Broncos. Broncos have been playing better, but they just blew a 20-0 first half lead against the Vikings. Lost that football game. This should be a cakewalk for the Bills. No, you know what? Nothing's been a cakewalk for the Bills all year.
No.
Except even that game against the Dolphins. They were a couple of Dolphins mistakes away from potentially losing that game on Sunday. So I'm not going to say it's going to be a cakewalk. Brandon Allen has that offense playing with a little bit more confidence right now since he's taken over as a starting quarterback. Still, I think the Bills win to keep pace. But I think the Bills are pretenders. I do not believe in them, and I think that when the Ravens go to play the Bills in 2 weeks, it's going to be kind of like what we just saw against the Texans. And I think it's going to be ugly. I think the Ravens are far and away the superior team.
Yeah, the Bills can take care of some lighter opponents, but they just don't have the offensive firepower to really scare anybody or make you worried about what am I going to do to stop this or that. If their defense isn't playing lights out during the game, they're susceptible to anybody beating them. So they are definitely not at the top of my list of teams that I would be worried about. And especially for the Ravens, in 2 weeks, it might be another slaughterhouse show up in Buffalo against them. So we'll see what happens.
Well, and you look at Josh Allen, who just won Offensive Player of the Week in the AFC. 256 passing yards, another 56 on the ground. He had 3 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. But 1 week he looks like that, and the next week he's out there
looking like Jared Goff,
completing 50% of his passes with 2 interceptions and a fumble. Right, exactly. So you don't know which I almost called him Kyle Allen. You don't know which Josh Allen. Why do we have 3 different starting quarterbacks in the NFL who's
got to get rid of all these Allens?
Too many Allens.
Too many Allens.
But you never know which Josh Allen you're going to get. If the bad Josh Allen shows up, which is what you kind of get every other week, it could be a long day for the Bills against Denver because Denver has a pretty solid defense. Now, Raiders play the Jets. Raiders are 6-4. They're going to win that game against the Jets, even though it's in the Meadowlands. I think that the Jets' offense is maybe starting to gel a little bit.
Slightly.
Back-to-back wins here.
Darnold's looking a lot more comfortable and better.
I still think that the Raiders win that game. It might be a close game, but I think they'll win that game. Jags take on the Titans. Jags are 4-6. Titans are 5-5. Titans, another team. They're playing well right now. They're really rejuvenated behind Tannehill, but they're pretenders.
Jags win this game.
Yeah, and I said last week, Titans, they have to play the Texans, Saints, and Texans to end their year. They're on the outside looking in. The big game is actually next week. We didn't talk about the Chiefs for some odd reason last week when we were doing the playoff push. Maybe just because we expect them to be there, but Chiefs have a bye this week, and then you have potentially a first-place showdown for that AFC West division between the Raiders and the Chiefs next week. Now, we'll talk about that more on next week's show, But
should be interesting.
If the Raiders get past this week, they're playing for the division late in the year, and that's what we did not see that coming from the Oakland Raiders.
Who would have thought the Raiders would be, if they win this week, who would have thought they'd be 7-4 going into week 13 of the NFL season?
Exactly.
Nobody.
Exactly.
Nobody. So it's shaping up to be one hell of a game next week for them two teams, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there. The Raiders have to take care of business on the road against the Jets first.
You got to take care of that.
So we'll see how that goes. All right, we're going to move on to our predictions. We're going to try and get this show under 40 minutes today.
Yeah, we're going to try. We should make it.
Yeah, I think we should. But I'm going to go first today.
Yeah,
I think you went first last week.
Yeah.
So I got the Ravens winning this game 24-13. I think Lamar Jackson goes over 300 yards of total offense again between passing and rushing. I think he has 3 total touchdowns. I think the defense is going to force at least 3 turnovers. Last week it was all about the pass rushing and the sacks. I think the pass rush is going to be there. I don't think they get nearly 7 sacks. But I could see 3 or 4 sacks and a bunch of quarterback hits and hurries that's going to force some turnovers. Jared Goff has been a turnover machine this year. I think he's going to throw a couple of picks, and I think there'll be a costly fumble. I'm a little bit worried about the run defense because they got gashed by the Bengals for over 150 yards 2 weeks ago. This past week, they only gave up 122 yards rushing, but over 6 yards a carry.
Yeah, but you got to look at the big run at the end, towards the end of the game.
That's true.
What was that? That was a 41-yard scamper on one play. I think that bumps up their average. It bumps up their yardage total. You take that away, it's a lot more respectable game from the rush defense, still minus Michael Pierce, who might possibly be back this week.
Well, you take away Lamar's game against the Dolphins and just giving you a hard time. That's all we've been hearing all year.
I know, right?
My unsung hero for this game is going to be Miles Boykin. I think that Lamar made it a point to get Seth Roberts his first touchdown in nearly 2 years, or over a year last week. The receivers only had 6 catches for 51 yards and that 1 touchdown. Did a hell of a job blocking. Yeah. But I think this week, we saw him try and force the ball into Boykin a little bit last week in the first drive of the game. One pass almost picked off. But I think he's going to keep trying to get Boykin the ball. I think he's going to have 3 catches and a touchdown to be the unsung hero. And I just don't see the Rams' offense being a match for the Ravens' defense. Defense is the key to this game, and Ravens win at 24-13.
I can see that. I can see it very well. My prediction's going to be a little bit more higher than yours. I'm going 31-13 Ravens on this. That Rams offensive line is just straight up and down trash. And I think the way we're getting pressure, the way the Ravens are pushing that middle of the pocket back up into the quarterback, it could be a very, very long night for Jared Goff. Maybe a strip sack fumble return, maybe an edge. Judon's been going off. Maybe he comes around the edge. It's just I don't see them pushing the ball down the field enough to threaten our secondary, who has been covering mostly lights out the last couple of weeks. I'm looking for a special teams play. I think DeAnthony Robinson. DeAnthony Thomas, sorry. I'm thinking of another Robinson. DeAnthony Thomas, I think he maybe gets one this week. I think Harv's a little disappointed with his special teams play the last few weeks, and I think he's going to buckle down hard on him, especially being on the road, and he's going to say, let's get the special teams activated. I really feel like there's going to be a special teams touchdown in here somewhere, kickoff or punt return. My unsung hero, I've got to go. I got to go with Hayden Hurst. He's just a couple of here, a couple there. I think they're more concerned with getting the tight ends over the middle involved. I think the Ravens are going to continue to do that. I don't think the Rams have anybody who's going to be able to stick all 3 tight ends. You don't have people who can stick all 3 tight ends.
Right.
They're 3 big bodies who can move well. If you want to put Jalen Ramsey on top of Mark Andrews, fine. Pick your poison. Have a ball. You do that, you take him away from Marquise Brown, who might burn you deep. Hayden Hurst, I think, is going to be the unsung hero with 4 catches. Probably gets around 75 yards and a touchdown this week.
75 yards, that'd be a career high.
That would be a very big career high. I think he goes for one long one. At least one long one. At least 30 yards. So, 31-13 Ravens.
Well, Lord knows the Ravens are rolling right now, winning a 6th straight, longest winning streak since the 2000 Super Bowl season. So, for the first time in a long time, I don't feel like a letdown's coming.
Nope.
I just feel like this team is going to keep rolling. I think they have a chance to go undefeated the rest of the year.
It's all spoken across Lamar Jackson's T-shirts he wears in his press conferences. Nobody cares. Work harder. And that's all this team's doing.
Well, folks, that's going to do it for us. We're going to work harder. Get back at you next week. Until then, as always, go Ravens. Thanks for tuning in.